and it's a big story. It has to do with the Galaxy S23 Ultra phone. It has passed through some regulatory hands over in China, and it details some things that are missing that we thought were in there, and some things that are a little bit disappointing as well. And I think it's par for the course at this point, where when a Samsung phone gets released, there's going to be some hyped up things and some disappointing things and some things that we thought were in there and some things that are missing or added at later dates. So without further ado, let's talk about this. So this information, like I said, is coming through China and the regulatory agencies over there. But basically what's happening is what we're seeing are some specs. Galaxy S23 Ultra, what we heard, will have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor. That still remains to be true. It's supposed to be overclocked, but I guess as of right now, it's potentially not showing that, but don't take that as it won't be overclocked. We're seeing storage sizes of 256, 512, and 1 terabyte, as well as 8 and 12 gigs of RAM. Now let's talk about those storage sizes real quick. 256 is a bump over the traditional 128 gigs of storage, and then 8 gigs of RAM. I thought that'd be completely removed, but it looks like they're sticking with that with the lower model. And then the 512 and the 1 terabyte will probably have 12 gigs of RAM on that S23 Ultra. Camera specs were not included for whatever reason, but the dimensions of the phone are right there. You can see the numbers 163.4 by 78.1 by 8.9 millimeters. The battery inside is saying that it's 4855 milliamps, which is identical to the S22 Ultra, which will be marketed as a 5000 milliamp battery. To continue on with it, one of the things missing from here was satellite support. Now, it's not in the iPhone either over in China, so it doesn't mean it's not going to be included in the rest of the world. It just means that China is not getting the satellite connectivity built into the phone, where if you're, somewhere and you're lost and you're worried about, getting back to where you were, having help because you're injured or something, it doesn't mean that won't be included in the phone that you get. It just means in the China version, it's not. So I think the big takeaways is that it seems like there's still going to be an 8 gigabyte model of RAM on the phone. The other part of it is potentially, because we've heard that the satellite support would be built into the phone, especially in America and other countries probably as well, but in China it's not. But yeah, a little bit, I'm pretty disappointed in the 8 gigabytes of RAM. I think that's kind of lame, I think, especially with the highest end phone that they put out. Story and only story of the day is about One UI 5 on Samsung. It's been out for weeks now, maybe almost a month for some phones, and I've had it for a while because I had the beta on my Galaxy Z Fold 4, so I've had it even longer than that. And there's people, I get the question kind of a lot, at least I have recently, hey, where's my One UI 5 update? I seem like the only one that hasn't gotten it. And it seems like some of you people are correct. People that have the Z Fold 3 or the Z Fold 4 or one of the new S22 phones or one of the other phones as well just don't have the One UI 5 update. Well, there was a post on Reddit that I saw, and I thought it was kind of interesting because basically the guy says, am I the last one without One UI 5? He has an S21 Ultra on T-Mobile. And if you look through the comments, there's people that basically, some say, yes, I've had it, or I do have it, or you're gonna get the beta, or you're gonna do this, or I don't have it. It's like a mixed bag. So if you're super concerned with not having One UI 5 still to this point, potentially you're not the only one. You're not even potentially, you're definitely not the only one. Now, what's gonna trigger that event so that you get the One UI 5 update? Who's to say? Honestly, I've run into situations in the past where, I've been waiting for the update as well for a really long time, and other people around me had already gotten it. So it's unfortunate that it hasn't been pushed to you. There's nothing you can really do to trigger it, to make it happen. Now, if you have an unlocked phone, you could potentially put a different SIM card in there, like a friend SIM card, especially if it's already available on that carrier, and trigger the update that way. I've done a video on that. But otherwise, you kind of just have to wait, unfortunately. There's not really a lot that you can do at this point. But our only story of the day has to do with the specs that we know so far about the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. So what are they? What do we know? Well, here we go. This is coming from a tweet from Anthony the Galax showing off the S23 Ultra. Looks like we're going to get the 8 gigs of RAM will come with 256 gigs of storage. If you want 512 or 1 terabyte, it will come with 12 gigabytes of RAM. So right off the bat right there, you're probably going to want to get the 12 and 512 gigabytes of storage and RAM. I think that'll be the hot seller out of those 3 models, or at least the one most people that know anything about smartphones are going to end up going for. 5,000 milliamp battery on here. So if you want a big size battery, it will come with a 5,000 milliamp battery. Cameras will be 200 megapixel mains camera, 12, 10, and 10 megapixels on there. You're looking at a 6.8 inch QHD plus resolution, 120 hertz, curved AMOLED display, but remember, it's supposed to be slightly less curved than before. Modified version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. It means it's supposed to be a little bit overclocked on there, so you should get some slightly better performance potentially versus some other phones that have the same processor that'll be on the market in due time. Improved cooling system to control all the thermals and probably give you some better performance at the same time. And it should launch with One UI 5.1. And then the other piece of that is the price. Will either be the same or slightly higher. We've been hearing slightly higher, but we also heard that last year and it didn't come out to be true. So we'll definitely keep our eye on the price of the S23 Ultra being higher or lower. Now I can see them probably keeping it the same with the 8 gigabyte version, 256 gigs of storage, but in the other ones, those will probably be a little bit higher than they were last year. That's my guess of what they do with the pricing on those. First story of the day has to do with the Oppo Find N2 Flip. And we're gonna show you a video that is amazing. Well, I think it's amazing. And it's sure to think, this is going to come to the Galaxy Z Flip 5. It has to. They haven't changed that design in a long time, and that's the rumor is going to have a bigger outside display, and that's what we're going to see. So look at this. You're able to watch videos or social media stuff on this outside display without opening the phone. And I think that is a very convenient, helpful, cool thing to have. It's cool because it's a really easy show off to your friends and family to get them hyped up about potentially buying a flip phone, especially if you're coming from Samsung. If Samsung does this, which it looks like they're probably going to do as well, Samsung is available almost everywhere, and those phones haven't changed, like I said, in a bit, those flip phones. So this would be a big, nice change to it. I love this. I think this is amazing. I think this would be a big selling point. It's useful. What do you guys think about it? Next up, we've been talking about Galaxy S23 Ultra a lot, but what about the Galaxy S23 Plus and the specs that we should be seeing with that specific device? So let's talk about it. So Yogesh Brer has put out a tweet detailing the specs on the S23 Plus, saying that it'll come with a 6.6 inch Full HD Plus AMOLED 120 hertz display. It'll have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and that's worldwide, guys, not just regional. 8 gigs of RAM, which is it's enough to run it, but it's getting a little long in the tooth. 128 or 256 gigs of storage, your preference. Rear cam, you can get either, it comes with a 15 megapixel main shooter and then 12 megapixel, 10 megapixel, and the front camera is 12 megapixel, runs Android 13, One UI 5, probably One UI 5.1 out of the box. 4,700 milliamp battery. So the 23 Ultra comes with a 5,000 milliamp battery, 25 watt fast charging, stereo speakers, and ultra wide band support. So, kind of coming close within that Ultra version of the phone, except smaller battery, smaller display size, less resolution on the display. Cameras are less resolution, RAM is less. So there's a handful of things in there that are going to be less, as there have been for the last couple of years for these devices. And our last story of the day has to do again with Samsung. And if you've been following Samsung for the last 5 years, or you've been following my channel for that long, Samsung's been releasing phones that were like way up here and at times beyond everybody else, and then they kind of came in line with cost reduction and putting their phones on par, at least spec wise, maybe sometimes even below some of their competitors, but keeping the price kind of high. Well, it looks like they're doing an about face right now. There's an article over in Korea, and the headline from it is, in quotes, saying, "Stop talking about cost reduction. Samsung revamped its smartphone strategy." It says, "If we lose more to Apple, there is no future." And the big takeaway from the article, and I highlighted it here, it says that all departments should think about ways to strengthen the competitiveness of smartphones without getting caught up in cost reduction. And this is according to Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Han Jung-hee, and that's what he ordered their device experience division to start to do. So it sounds like, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen in the next month or two, because the S23 phones are coming out, and they have some lesser specs on some of those things, but it sounds like they might try to be that high premium tier type company with the best specs and the best features, and not let things kind of fall down and be reduced, even though you might be paying a high premium price. So I think it's fantastic news. They still make budget phones. It doesn't mean they're going to stop making budget phones or mid-tier phones. Leave that to that stuff, but they're for their high-end units, the S23 line, or S line, whatever you want to call it, the fold and the flip lines, make those super premium. I think that's what people mostly want when they expect those devices. First story of the day has to do with the crease. A lot of people hate the crease on the Galaxy Z Fold phones. They're like, it looks ugly, it takes away from the aesthetics, it takes away from the experience, and you get used to it. I say it all the time. I say that all the time. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But what about the new Oppo Find N2 folding phone? Has that improved any? Because that is also using a Samsung display, and it looks like it is improved in terms of the crease that sits inside of the display. It actually looks quite better, which is nice. And I don't know how the color temperature is of the Samsung phone, but the Oppo Find N2 looks a lot more white, which actually I do like that better. But again, it could be how the settings are set up for the display on the Z Fold 4, but definitely the crease is visibly less than the Z Fold 4. So it could be, and it should be, a sign of things to come with the Galaxy Z Fold 5 as well. Because remember, Oppo Find N2 is a slightly, by months, newer foldable phone using or should be using newer Samsung display technology. So we should see this carry over to the Z Fold 5 when that comes out towards the end of 2023. And our last story is all about showing off some dummy units, aka just, not fake phones, but made up phones of the Galaxy S23 series, what they're going to look like. And don't act like you're going to be getting any surprises. I guess one of the bigger takeaways is it looks like there's a ring around the displays, at least a silver ring anyway, around the cameras on the back of the phone. So looks a little bit different, potentially a little bit better. You can also tell the rounded off edges on the S23 and 23 Plus versus the more squared off design on the Ultra, which is very similar to last generation. You got the S Pen at the bottom of the S23 Ultra, no S Pen on the other phones. Again, not really much of a difference. We've got one news story for you today, and it's all going to be all about the perfect 2023 foldable smartphone. And before we jump into this, I don't have any questions that I'm going to answer today due to the fact that I'm recording this a little bit early in time because I'm headed out on some vacation time to hang out with my family. So there won't be any questions answered today. But I got this idea from a Ben Geskin Twitter post. He put the perfect 2022 smart foldable smartphone. And I was like, you know what? 2022 is basically over. Let's talk about 2023 and what I would want the perfect 2023 foldable smartphone. And I know some of this stuff is completely out of the park. I know it's not going to happen, especially with some of the phones we can buy here in America, but it's wishful thinking and it's cool stuff to have. So without further ado, let's jump into this. So the first thing that I would want is two things. Bigger display on the inside of this phone. I want a much bigger display. It's just something I want. I think it'd be great to have a bigger display. Like, it's already kind of big, 7.6, but make it 8 inches. Why not? Like, make it so big that it's perfect, and make it 4K. We have, not that these displays look bad, but you make it 4K, it's a good selling point. And things become sharper, even though you might not be able to tell a huge difference. It's just something cool to have. And I would be, and especially with all the power that's behind these phones now, it definitely could support a nice 4K 120 hertz LTPO main display. On the outside, 6.5 inch 120 hertz with an 18:9 aspect cover ratio, QHD plus. And I'd want this to be wider. I don't care about it being shorter, it doesn't matter to me, but definitely wider and just a little bit bigger so I can use it almost like a traditional phone. You know, if I pull up maybe have it the same display size as, like, this is a Pixel 7 Pro, but like a Pixel 7 or something like that, I would be perfectly happy with that. So those are two huge things that I would want to happen on the displays. 4K on the inside, 8 inches, and 6.5 inch QHD Plus on the outside, a little bit fatter, so it's a little bit more usable. Next up, Pixel 8 Pro cameras. Now, Pixel 7 Pro, it just came out, but you assume Pixel 8 Pro is going to have better cameras, and we're talking about 2023, so why not? Sure, it'd be nice to have a 200 megapixel camera on the back like the S23 Ultra and have 100x zoom and stuff like that, but a little bit overkill for me. I'd be perfectly fine with my favorite cameras being the Pixel 8 Pro cameras on the back of the foldable phone that we're making as our perfect phone. Storage size is, I think, 256 to 1 terabyte is absolutely amazingly perfect. I don't think you need to get nothing less, nothing more. I know some people might want more than 1 terabyte, but let's be honest, it's very few and far between, I would guess. So 256 to 1 terabyte is storage. RAM, 16 gigs of RAM. Now, we can definitely get by with 12, but if we're trying to get the most perfect phone here for foldables, let's go 16 gigs of RAM so we can open up as many apps and leave as many apps as we want open. Performance doesn't dip and all of that. Next would be charging. I would love to see much faster charging on, especially the Samsung side. I know some of these other Chinese phones have charging this fast. And obviously, if I could get faster, yeah, I'm just trying to be a little bit reasonable in here. 65 watt fast charging with wired, and then 50 watt wireless charging on this foldable phone. I think that would be fantastic to be able to get much faster charging speeds, have them be wired or wireless. IP68 dust and resistance. We have IPX8, which is water resistance. We want the dust in there too. Throw it in there. It'd be nice to have that. Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is the processor. This is supposed to be a super powerful, super efficient processor, and it's going to be great for gaming and just overall usage. And it's going to be, I believe, one of the most powerful processors you can throw in a foldable phone. 5,000 milliamp battery. Of course, I would love to see 6 or 7 or 8,000 milliamps, but if it's gonna really hinder the weight and make it be a tank, I don't know if I want that. But yeah, 5,000 milliamp battery, I'd be perfectly fine with. Side mounted fingerprint sensor, why not? I love these. Keep it there, don't put it on top of the display, keep it on the side so it doubles up as a power button. So the question came from MD Prospect Photography saying, can you please help me? My question is regarding the S22 Ultra and whether or not it's possible to cut a pair of one photo and paste it into another. Yes, it is. And I figured it out. So let's get into this. So hit your home button, go into your gallery app. What you want to do next is open the photo that you want. So let's just say I want this photo right here. And I'm gonna press the edit button. And then from here, I'm going to hit the smiley face at the bottom. Now I'm running One UI 5.0. Yours might look a little bit different. You might not have a smiley face. You might have a little like sticker thing, and that's basically what we're going into. So hit the smiley, tap on stickers. And then from here, I'm gonna hit the gallery app. And I can choose one of these, or I can hit the plus sign. And if I want to paste another photo, I can choose something I want. I'm going to choose the chicken finger. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to hit done. And I can drag this anywhere onto my photo. Now, if I wanted to do another one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit the sticker. I'm going to go to stickers. I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'm going to find the sticker I want. Maybe I want this picture. I'm going to hit next. Done. And again, it puts that photo in here, and I can drag it, make it smaller, whatever I want. Hit save at the top here, and my photo is saved now. I have that awesome photo. Now you saw I had a picture of a chicken finger, so you can go a little bit more in depth with this. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna find a photo. So I have this photo of my Christmas tree. Maybe I wanna put this Christmas tree into another photo, but just the Christmas tree. So what I'm gonna do is tap the photo, hit edit. I'm gonna go into the little circle here. I'm gonna do freeform. Actually, I'm gonna do shape. You can do it multiple ways. I'm just gonna do shape though. Actually, no, I'll do freeform. So what I'm gonna do is put a kind of circle around this tree. And then I'm gonna hit, and it shows this tree for me. I'm gonna hit next. And I'm gonna hit done. I'm gonna hit save. And that's going to save the tree for me. And now when I go into one of my photos, let's just say I go back into that one right here, or whatever one you're in, I can hit the edit button, smile, stickers. I'm going to hit the gallery button at the bottom, plus sign. I'm gonna find that picture of the tree. I found it. I'm gonna hit next, done. And now I have a Christmas tree in my photo as well. So that's how you do what I was basically showing you how to do in terms of getting a picture inside of a picture. Hopefully that was pretty helpful for you. Have a great day. If you have a question, leave it in the comments down below with the hashtag question, and we'll see you down the road. Peace.